Merry Christmas everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I've returned from my hiatus to bring you a very soapy review just in time for Christmas. As I'm sure you're all aware from the film title, today we're going to be ripping the wrapping paper off a very terrible Christmas-themed horror movie. The adjective horror coming from how scarily bad this film really is. Now enough of my stalling. Without further ado, on with the review.
The selection box god, all these other boys fraud. They just seek the one bar, but I eat them all. I'm the selection box god. All these.
This time last year on my channel, I reviewed several awful Christmassy movies, the first two being the first couple of installments of the Silent Night Deadly Night franchise.
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
Sorry, I know I kept using it in my actual review, but that clip is just amazingly awful. The whole movie's amazingly awful, to be honest. Inspired by those earlier reviews, I decided to choose another terrible Christmassy spooky movie to review this year, and settled upon the aptly titled The Gingerdead Man. I first discovered this film through the YouTuber Mista who reviewed it, and I linked his video down in the description if any of you guys want to check it out. Gary Busey voices the titular Gingerdead Man, and before watching Mr. Gigi's review, I hadn't really heard of who the guy was, so I decided to look him up. This is an actor who has had a career spanning almost 60 years at the time of making this video, and he has won several awards. You'll understand why I'm saying this as I go on about the movie, but how is he in this? Why did he accept the role?
I guess we'll never know.
The movie opens with a robbery of a diner, conducted by a man named Millard Findlemeyer, who is played by Gary Busey. This old guy who is there with the rest of his family tries to confront him, but Millard immediately shoots him. He then turns his attention to the other people present.
There's somebody in here. I smell something in the air. It smells feminine.
Yeah, no shit. I don't think a diner booth is that good of a hiding place. He should be able to see them relatively well depending on his position. The brother then follows in his father's footsteps and tries to get Millard to leave. But this just leads to this drawn out back and forth about the way the kid is saying his line before Millard just stabs him anyway.
Put your gun down, please.
You sound like a sissy boy.
Put your gun down, please.
Now you're sounding like my high school principal.
I don't much like the tone of your voice.
He leaves the daughter, Sarah, alive, as he can't bring himself to kill her, and the police arrive just in time. We then get some appropriately baking-themed opening credits, which are making me hungry for some gingerbread, although I hope not the evil variety. They do drag on a bit though, I assume for the purpose of adding runtime. Some time has passed, and Sarah is shown working in her family's bakery, but she has some weird things to say while remembering her brother.
I guess we won't be driving to Dallas to celebrate the big 2-1 after all, huh? Whoever you are up there, I hope they have strippers and Lone Star.
I mean, what a thing to wish for. Kinda weird, right? I get that it's meant to be funny, but I think that if her delivery was more exaggerated, like if she was actually crying instead of just sniveling unconvincingly, the joke would have landed better. It's then revealed that Millard was sentenced to death via the electric chair through some newspaper clippings that are pinned right next to the photos of Sarah's brother and father, which, might I add, is also fucking weird. I get why you'd keep them, but not together with the nice family photos. Sarah is delivered a package of dodgy-looking Grandma's gingerbread seasoning. Yeah, unless you're certain that you ordered that, I don't see why you just pick it up and use it. Sarah's friend and co-worker, Brick. That's right, Brick goes on about how he's going to some wrestling event called WrestlePalooza, where they allow amateurs to join or whatever.
This could be my shot at the big time. And in this corner, straight from Hell's Kitchen, the Butcher Baker.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, dream big, kid, dream big. They talk about how they miss Sarah's dead family, but then Brick accidentally cuts his hand. He then puts his hand over the seasoning pot and his blood mixes in? Aside from the magic mumbo jumbo, this is so unhygienic, and I know I wouldn't be going to any bakery if I knew this was going on behind the scenes.
I am disgusted.
Brick then refuses to go see a doctor because the Butcher Baker can always take the heat. Listen, kid, there's acting like a tough guy, and then there's being impractical. You can't work like that, and you're going to get even more of your filthy DNA in the food. Go to a hospital. Another co-worker, Julia, tells Sarah that Millard was finally executed and then cremated, and that his ashes were sent to his mother.
I don't like where this is going.
That dodgy gingerbread seasoning sure seems mighty suspicious right about now. Apparently I was wrong earlier as Brick continues working like normal, and there isn't even any blood stains on his uniform. You can see his blood from earlier being mixed in with the dough, and I am not impressed. I know this place is getting shut down during the next health inspection. Sarah's alcoholic mother, Betty, drunkenly shoots down the banner of a new competitor across the street, and Julia takes her home. The owner of the opposing establishment, Jimmy Dean, arrives with his daughter Lorna and blames Sarah for the damages. She apologizes, and he tries to buy the bakery, although Sarah turns this offer down. Brick tries to comfort Sarah, and she allows him to leave work early for WrestlePalooza, and she agrees to finish making the cookies. She makes a giant gingerbread man, but when she returns from putting it in the oven, she finds Lorna has put a rat in the kitchen, so the health department will shut them down. She doesn't need to put a rat in there after the shenanigans that I just witnessed. There's a rat in my kitchen, what am I gonna do? Okay, back to the script. The two girls start fighting, using the surrounding pastries as projectiles, but this is interrupted by a little gingerbread friend being all spooky and supernatural in the oven.
Adi-doo-wee Dembella, give me the power, I beg of you.
Lorna's somewhat boyfriend Amos shows up and denies any involvement, but they open the oven and release the gingerbread man, or should I say, the Gingerdead man.
He said it!
Our titular villain in a bad slasher movie has finally been shown on screen, and a couple of characters, one of which is kind of shown to be a dickhead, also arrive at the same time. I'm sure nothing bad will happen to these two at all. They'll be perfectly fine. The three of them then find the Gingerdead man eating all of the food in the freezer, and so try to lock him in before attempting to call the police. But the phone is dead. Woo! Lorna then manages to call her dad on Amos's mobile, but it dies before she can finish what she's saying. Predictable movie. Predictable, but not funny. Betty then wakes up and sees the rat from earlier before hearing the Gingerdead man's wicked laughter. Doing the usual snooping around to see what's there like this is Scooby-Doo routine, and he cuts off her finger when she goes to tickle him? Lady, I get that your common sense may be inhibited by all the grief and the alcohol, but this is a magical gingerbread man possessed by the guy who killed your husband and son. He's not a Care Bear. The lights go out and Julia returns to the bakery looking for Betty. When she finds her, she is hit with a frying pan by the Gingerdead man, who then puts her in the freezer and Betty in the oven. Amos gets a gun from his car, and Jimmy Dean finally arrives to pick Lorna up. While going to fix the generator, Amos and Sarah flirt, and we get some backstory about how when they were 6, Sarah punched him because he tried to kiss her by the punch bowl. Yeah, stop cheaply trying to make your characters more human through exposition. This movie is literally called The Gingerdead Man. Speaking of the Gingerdead Man, that little fiend gets into Jimmy Dean's car and crushes him between it and a wall. Lorna throws a tantrum and leaves, but Amos and Sarah reopen the freezer and find Julia in there. Lorna then finds her father's dead body and steals a ring from it. She really is just one of these meatbags that you're supposed to hate until they die. The Gingerdead Man then cuts up Lorna's face, but she escapes, upset that she'll never be a pageant queen again. She storms out again as her only character trait seems to be being a spoiled brat, but this time she triggers a tripwire, resulting in a knife being lodged in her head. Amos and Sarah find Betty in the oven, but manage to rescue her before it's turned on. The Gingerdead Man hits Amos on the head and pushes Sarah into the oven, turning it on, but Amos manages to shoot the lock off before Sarah is cooked to death. Totally pointless transaction. Brick then appears out of nowhere in his amateur wrestling outfit to act like some kind of wannabe superhero. He then starts some fight with the Gingerdead Man and eats him in order to defeat him. Unfortunately, Brick starts to feel a bit unwell, and while the other characters leave to take Betty to a hospital, it's revealed that Brick has now been possessed by Millard, and he tries to attack Sarah. I actually really like Brick Miller's design here, because of the eyeliner, and he kind of reminds me of a vampire from Buffy. Amos shoots Brick Millard, and although the bullets don't work, this distracts him enough to allow them to push him into the oven, and they cook him to death. After another time skip, Betty's bakery is shown to be a huge success, but a nurse tells some extras that an old lady dropped off some ominous-looking gingerbread men.
Can you just die?
I know this was to be expected given its title, but this movie is horrible. The acting is bad, the story is full of cliches, and the effects are cheesy and implausible. It's not even fun or funny, it's just full of tired tropes and they aren't even good or at least so bad it's good visuals to fall back on. I can't tell if this movie is supposed to be a parody of cheesy 80s slashers, or if it's simply just a rip-off. Whatever it's trying to do, it's failing at it. The reason I call this into question is that it so blatantly rips off more popular and better made horror franchises. The obvious franchise that comes to mind is Child's Play. It's basically the same story with all the charm sucked out. The human version of the killer in the beginning, him coming back for revenge in the form of something seemingly wholesome and usually given to children. There are even terrible one-liners.
The hell is that?
Well, it sure ain't the Pillsbury fucking dope boy.
There's also a scene towards the end of the film where Sarah tries to confront the Gingerdead Man, which really reminds me of this scene from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
This movie knows what it's doing and it's so shameless. Other than Gary Busey, there are other well-known and well-established actors in this movie, notably the actress Margaret Bly, who is in numerous films from the 20th century, including the film The Italian Job. Why did these people take these roles? It baffles me. Well, that's all for this video. Be sure to follow me on social media, as they are all linked in the description box below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Merry Christmas everyone, and as always, thanks for watching.
I'm the selection box god. All these other boys fraud. They just eat the one bar, but I eat them all. I'm the selection box god. All these other boys fraud. They just eat the one bar, but I eat them all. I'm the selection box god. All these other boys fraud. They just eat the one bar.